not gonna get it. Uh-oh. I think it's gonna be bad. I think this one might be bad though. The second one always do because they said that first one, this one gonna give us something.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rosalie Reyes, and I am the coordinator of teacher engagement and professional development at Teaching for Change. Greetings and welcome to the 2021 Black Lives Matter at School Curriculum Fair, hosted by Teaching for Change and Howard University's School of Education. As we get started and throughout today's event, we encourage you to share introductions, questions, and comments by using the chat feature. Please share your name, pronouns, role, or grade that you teach, and where you are joining us from. This is an annual DC area event, and today, at least 1/3 of the participants are educators from the DC area. This year, we welcome teachers from around the US and around the world. Teachers have signed up from 42 states, including a large number from Missouri. Please continue to introduce yourselves in the chat box and tell us where you are from. Here is a brief overview of our agenda, which includes a keynote address, gallery hall for resource exploration, and 2 workshop sessions. We want to express our deep gratitude for all of our workshop facilitators and volunteers that have wonderful sessions in store for you all today. Lastly, thank you to our ASL interpreters who are providing their services for our learning community, many of which who are joining us for a consecutive year. The Teaching for Change board and staff have enjoyed collaborating with Howard University for the Black Lives Matter at School Curriculum Fair. And thank you for joining us for our first virtual gathering. I'll quickly share a bit about our work and programs. Teaching for Change helps students uncover the truth about history and their vital role as informed and active citizens. Our mission is to build social justice starting in the classroom, and here are some of our program areas. We offer a number of programs, including social justice books. At this website, you'll find curated selections of picture books and young adult titles. We are excited to announce the Black Lives Matter at School book list, which includes titles of each of the 13 guiding principles for the Black Lives Matter movement. Along with Rethinking Schools, we coordinate the Zinn Education Project. This project offers free, downloadable people's history lessons, searchable by theme and time period. Thank you, and we hope you explore the resources mentioned. It is now my pleasure to welcome Dr. Dawn Williams, Dean of Howard University's School of Education.
Good morning, and thank you. Thank you for that overview. So on behalf of the Howard University School of Education, it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the annual Black Lives Matter at School Curriculum Fair. It's Saturday morning, and you all have chosen to use your time to find ways to better serve our youth. And for that, I am sincerely thankful. This is a one-of-a-kind event that brings together educators from all sorts within the K-12 and university communities. I also would like to thank the organizers that have worked for months behind the scenes to bring this workshop to you all. A special shout out to Deborah Menkart of Teaching for Change, Dr. Joy Banks of Howard University, and our talented education students at Howard University. During this global health pandemic, we have been reminded of the pandemic of violence that is chronically displayed in the public eye and also disproportionately applied in the African American community. This summer, we collaborated with a number of organizations to work with teachers in navigating how to discuss racial injustice in the classroom. Teaching for Change is an important partner in this work, as they are known for building social justice starting in the classroom. If you haven't noticed, we are a movement and not a monument. In other words, we are true to this and not new to this. Let us get to work by putting those beautifully crafted written mission statements that adorns the school walls into practice. Today's event is the personification of It Takes a Village. I call upon this village to start, continue, or expand the conversation with us. We are also honored to collaborate with DC area educators for social justice. Howard University is located in Washington, DC. We are not just in the community, we are of the community. Not only is our motto truth and service, service is the core of our institutional DNA. During this time of possibilities and pain, we are reminded of our greatness within a storied and triumphant history. Emotions are high, but so are the stakes. Our message must remain consistent. Part of my messaging is, when you see something, say something. I think we've all heard that. This includes seeing kindness, courage, and perseverance. Acknowledge it. But this also includes seeing discrimination, racism, and hate. Exercise political courage through your curriculum, your instruction, and of course, your pedagogy. There is power in your voice, but please know that there is also noticeable power in your silence. I'll leave you with this quote by from Audre Lorde. Your silence will not protect you. So while I consider the system to be systems work, be a part of the system that is the example. Create and build coalitions for greater impact. Sometimes it starts with the coalition of the willing. I've heard that from Denisha Jones. Your attendance today shows that you are willing, and we are going to do our best to make sure that you are also able to use culturally relevant curriculum materials to teach in culturally affirming ways. Now, we are happy to hear from our keynote speakers, Denisha Jones, an early childhood educator and director of the Art of Teaching program at Sarah Lawrence College, and Jessie Hagopian, a high school teacher that serves on the Zinn Education Project staff, and also the Rethinking Schools editor and co-editor of Teaching for Black Lives. They are both on the steering committee for the National Black Lives Matter at School Week of Action and co-editors of the new book that we'll hear about today, Black Lives Matter at School. Thank you, and please enjoy your day.
Well, thank you so much for that warm introduction. It's so great to be with everybody. Shout out to Howard and Teaching for Change and DC area social educators for social justice.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, everybody. And I am at Sarah Lawrence College, but I also still teach at Howard University. So I'm really excited that they put on this curriculum share every week. Thank you so much, Dean Williams.
No doubt. I'll start off for us. And I just want to say that this curriculum fair is truly inspirational, and it is a model for transforming education in our country. This grassroots effort of saying what you want to learn and then organizing it is really how it should work all across the country, rather than corporate curriculum being scripted in the classrooms or mandated from on high. And it inspired the educators in Seattle to do a curriculum fair this year that was very impactful. So I want to thank everybody for that. I am here in Seattle, coming to you from occupied Duwamish and Coast Salish people's territory that is still unceded, and they're still struggling for their rights. And it's really exciting to be kicking off this year's Black Lives Matter at School Week starting on Monday, because we have a lot of work to do to transform our schools. Right now, schooling in America is about shame and it's about fear. And this is a struggle that is about transforming education, because they are trying to instill shame in our young people. They say it's important to do your homework because if you don't do your homework, you can't get a good job. And they say you need to study hard so you can get ahead. And then they say, look at the achievement gap. Black kids are perpetually behind white students. And what else but shame are our kids supposed to feel, right? And they want to use education to shame Black kids, brown kids into believing that they deserve their lot in life because they didn't achieve. They didn't score well on the test. And they want us to believe deeply in this endless achievement gap. But I want to reject that notion and say there is no achievement gap. There is an education debt, and Black Lives Matter at school is coming to collect. That's what we're about. And we have to work together to achieve that transformation. And this week of action is one of the methods we have for building a collective struggle to uproot institutional racism and inequality in our schools. And this really got launched in Seattle in 2016 when a group of educators at John Muir Elementary School came together and said, we want to start our school year off affirming our Black students' lives. This was the summer after, this was the school year after the summer when Philando Castile and Alton Sterling were murdered by police. And the educators there were worried about the well-being of their kids and the trauma that those events had inflicted, especially on Black students. And they wanted to start the year with a community event where they invited Black families and an organization called Black Men United to change the narrative, and working with the PTA and the educators all come out front of their school and high-five the kids as they came into school that day. And the art teacher, Julie Trout, designed a shirt that said, Black Lives Matter, we stand together. And when some white supremacists found out that educators were going to wear Black Lives Matter shirts, they began assaulting the school with hateful messages. And one person made a bomb threat against the school. So the school district had to officially cancel the event. They brought in a bomb sniffing dog. And it was just heartbreaking to me that people trying to affirm the lives of our young Black kids would be harassed this way. And so my friend Wayne Au's son went there and he put me in touch with the educators, and we brought them to our social justice caucus meeting. And we came up with the plan of having a Black Lives Matter at School Day in Seattle, where we would call on every educator to wear a Black Lives Matter shirt to school and teach lessons about institutional racism and the long Black freedom struggle. And the resolution passed in our union, and we began organizing with local activists and organizations. We partnered with the NAACP and with different Black student unions. We even got the citywide PTSA to endorse our action. And we began selling t-shirts, and first by the ones and twos, then by the dozens, then by the hundreds. And come October 19th, we had sold over 2,000 t-shirts, and hundreds of more educators made their own t-shirts. So we believe somewhere around 3,000 educators came to school that day wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt in Seattle out of the 5,000 educators we have here. It was an eruption of solidarity and struggle, and it helped inspire educators around the country. And that same school year, teachers in Rochester organized their own Black Lives Matter at School Day. And then the educators in Philly, they took it to the next level. They really went from our day of action to expanding it into a week of action. And they broke down the 13 principles of the Black Lives Matter Global Network into teaching points for each day of the week. Shout out to Tamara Anderson, who really spearheaded that effort of organizing the curriculum around these powerful ideals. And, you know, it really took off from there into a national movement. And Denisha is going to say more about that. But I just want to tell everybody good luck in your struggle, especially with the week of action coming up, because this is really a movement that's in response to a white supremacist country that has infected our schools, and it's tried to squeeze out the inherent joy of learning and replace it with discipline and order and standardization and punishment. And they're trying to snatch away the love of discovering something new and replace it with standardized tests and metal detectors and zero tolerance discipline and police. And we are fighting for a school system and a world that's defined by Black joy and creativity and imagination and collaboration and collective action. And so this week is so important because it's part of a movement, an uninterrupted, long Black freedom struggle that we all get to be a part of, to end police violence and state-sanctioned terror, and also to struggle against corporate education reform and center our kids. And I just want to end with a quote from one of my all-time heroes, the incredible educator Septima Clark, who was called the mother of the civil rights movement by Dr. King. And she said, "I believe unconditionally in the ability of people to respond when they are told the truth. We need to be taught to study rather than to believe, to inquire rather than to affirm." Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I won't keep you much longer because I really want you to get into this amazing lineup of workshops and just so much great stuff that DC has organized for you today. But I did just want to add a little bit to the wonderful overview that Jesse's given you. As he said, when the educators in Philadelphia dropped this week of action, it was just amazing. They just used social media to put out this amazing resource of a whole week dedicated to really talking about Black Lives Matter at schools and really affirming Black cultural knowledge through the use of the 13 guiding principles. I was inspired by this. A bunch of educators were. We met at several different conferences that summer. Some of us were at Free Mind, Free People in Baltimore. Others were at teach-ins around Ferguson. And we came together and decided that we wanted to make this a national movement. And then just about every Sunday, starting in August, September, we just started meeting on the regular, planning events, and people were just doing the work. In that first year, we were in 20 to 30 cities across the country. And it's just a movement led by teachers who are committed to the liberation of Black children in our public schools. And it was so moving to hear. I believe it was after our 2018 week of action, we were listening to everybody talk about what they did that week and just listening to the stories of the events, the lessons, the activities. It moved me so much. I reached out to Jesse. I said, we got to document this story. There's too much goodness happening here not to share with the world. And that's when the idea for the book was born. We went to Haymarket. They jumped on board. And to date, we have over 30 contributors in the book because it's not my story. It's not Jesse's story. It's our stories. And there's so many more people who are not in that book who do the work. And so I'm excited for the next version 2, 3, 4, where we can get even more and more teachers who do this work in the book. But it's really important to just note that it's the work of educators. They don't get paid for this. They take this on as work that matters to them and matters to their students. And you know, as we move forward, we know a lot of school districts are saying Black Lives Matter, but when it comes to instituting the week of action, I keep hearing that some of them are trying to co-opt it, trying to water it down. They don't want to talk about things they think are uncomfortable. Then you're not doing Black Lives Matter at school. And I suggest anyone who thinks they're using this name and not doing it right, if you're there, call them out, because that is not what we're here for. If you can't say Black Lives Matter at school, you're not doing this work. If you can't teach about these 4 demands behind me in this graphic, including the hire more counselors, not cops, you're not doing this work. If you can't teach about every 13 guiding principles, including career affirming and trans affirming, then you're not doing this work and you're not ready for this movement. So please don't let people co-opt this and turn this into a watered down version of what some people are comfortable with. It's really important that we hold true to this work. There are so many resources available on our website. Our curriculum committee does a fabulous job curating resources every year for all of the principals, all the grade levels. I heard someone say, oh, this is not appropriate for this grade level. Yes, it is, because we are educators and we made sure every lesson plan is appropriate for every grade level, and we even matched them to standards, right? We have what it takes to do this work. We know what we're doing. So, just get in and do it, and let us know what you're doing. Hashtag us throughout the week of action. My apologies, I'm outside in the cold here. Hashtag us during the week of action and let us know what's going on. And also know that we are doing this as a year of purpose. We have moved into a space where we want to encourage this work. We always wanted to do the work all year long, but we really want to center it every month. So look for more from the curriculum committee about the year of purpose and the different events that we have coming up. But again, thank you so much for being here today and really enjoy this special curriculum fair that DC is bringing to you. Jesse, I'm sorry, they wanted you to introduce the next speaker, Sierra.
Thank you. Yes, it is a pleasure to get to introduce my colleague at Zinn Education Project and author of an incredible chapter on the politics of Black girls' hair in a new book called Strong Black Girls that I would highly recommend everybody check out. Sierra helps host classes at the Zinn Education Project's People's Historian online classes as part of our Teach the Black Freedom Struggle campaign. And Sierra and I are getting ready to launch a podcast with the same name about teaching the Black freedom struggle. And so I will turn it over to you, Sierra.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Thank you, Denisha. Thank you for your work. Thank you for your words. We are so grateful to have been able to learn from you both today. And for everyone who is tuning in, if you haven't gotten their new book that they co-edited, Black Lives Matter at School, I highly recommend it. Rich storytelling, powerful resource. Everyone needs this in their library. And I'm sure that my colleagues will post it in the chat box for you so you have the link to be able to have access to it. So next we are going into our gallery hall portion of the curriculum fair. There are links for Padlet sites for each age group that you might work with, including early childhood, elementary, middle school, and high school. We invite you to view the link for the age group or age groups that you work with. The links are located on the fair site, which is shared in the chat box, and we will also post the links to each of the Padlet sites in the chat box. Just as a note, if you pull the link from the chat box, you may have to copy and paste the link into your browser for it to fully work. Once you find the Padlet for your age group and click on it, we invite you to explore the resources and the teacher stories. You'll be able to leave likes and comments on the resources, as well as click on them to learn more. These resources are examples from previous years' weeks of action to help spark inspiration, as well as provide a space where you can share your ideas, ask questions directly on the resources, and connect with one another virtually. Please find 3 stories or resources to comment on, and then 3 stories or resources for you to like. We will have about 15 minutes for this activity, and at 11:45 Eastern Time, you'll transition into your first session. If you have any tech troubles or questions, we're going to leave this room open, and please do place those questions in the chat box. We're so grateful to you all for joining us today. Please comment on 3 resources and like 3 resources that you find in the Padlet, and communicate with one another virtually through this interactive format of Padlet. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so grateful that you're here, and thank you for teaching for Black Lives.